Good evening, sir.
Good evening, my brother. How are you?
All the better for seeing you.
Oh, well, the feeling's
What can
mutual.
I say? An absolute musical legend in my living room.
By the marvels of modern technology.
I am telling you, how wonderful is this? I mean, if I tell people I've got Gary Hines in my living room as we speak, they won't believe it.
Well, after they stop laughing, they might.
No, the only reason they're laughing is because I'm sitting here in my underpants, looking wonderful up top, but my shorts.
Well, you're at home, so it's all
Exactly, I'm at home. How are you?
Oh, I'm blessed through it all, my brother. So honored on behalf of Sounds of Blackness to be with you halfway around the world and on your show. Thank you for the support.
Listen, you have no idea the love the people have in the UK for the Sounds of Blackness. Well, you probably do, but the love for the Sounds of Blackness is just, it's bigger than anything that I can think of. It really is. So
that's such an honor.
Understand how I feel being able to speak to you and see you.
Bless you, brother. Well, please know that love is very mutual. On behalf of Sounds of Blackness singers and band, I just saw them last night at our rehearsal. I will see them tonight when we rehearse again. And so I send all the UK spot our home. We send massive love, as you all would say, and to everyone we.
So you're rehearsing with them tonight?
We are. We rehearsed last night, and again tonight, of course, with our masks on and socially distanced and all of those COVID protocols kind of thing.
Right.
But we're going to do a concert of Christmas music from our Christmas play. We can't do the full play because of COVID restrictions, but we're going to do a concert of the music from the play, and it's going to be streamed nationally on Broadway on Demand, December 19th through the 31st. So
right.
We'll be at your doorstep once again in just a few weeks.
Fantastic. Well, I mean, I have to say, I want to go from the beginning with the Sounds of Blackness, because apparently it was started in 1969.
Yes.
By Russell Kingston.
Okay, yes, and I can put that story together for you. So
having a bit of problem with your connection.
Okay, can you hear me okay now?
I can hear you, but you're frozen and you're breaking up a bit, but we will persevere.
Okay, well, hopefully we'll be better. Am I okay now?
You're clear as sound, but you're frozen.
Okay. Story of my life.
Frozen, I don't think so. Right, so you took over in 1971.
Yes, in 1969, Macalester College, that's my alma mater here in Minneapolis, St. Paul, a primarily white higher institution of learning, they embarked on a very ambitious program to recruit students of color called EEO, the Expanded Educational Opportunities. And they were very successful with it. So on one time of a campus of about 2,000, they had almost 200 students of color, primarily African-American. And one of the results of that is that the students themselves organized a number of different activities. There was a political group called BLAC, the Black Liberation Affairs Committee. There was a theater group called the Black Arts Midwest. And there was this 50-voice choir called the Macalester College Black Voices. And in 71 was my sophomore year at the college. And Russell Knighton, who had started the Macalester Black Voices, asked me to come on as director in January of 71. So this coming January will be 50 years for us as Sounds of Blackness.
Now, this is what is so amazing for the simple fact. I mean, I don't know, for me, Sounds of Blackness came into my world in 1991.
Right.
But we now realize that there were 20 previous years, prior years of this
Yeah.
Sounds of Blackness journey.
Yes. That's very true. And again, like we see, we started at Macalester College, and we still have a great relationship with Macalester College.
Right.
Uh, and of course, now the current, yours truly is the only original member that's currently active. What's interesting too, my brother, though, is that a number of the current Younger Sounds members are actually the children, offspring of some of the original members. So,
Wow.
yeah, so we are literally Sounds of Blackness next generation.
So it's almost been handed down like a tradition.
Exactly.
Amazing.
Lighting the torch and continuing. When we began at Macalester College in '71, there is a great professor of African and African American history, Professor Mahmoud Cotti, and he is actually the father of the great artist Stokely, who I know you know.
Yes.
So yeah, that's Stokely's father. He's a great world-renowned.
Lost you.
Okay, yeah, he was a professor at Macalester College, and one of the first things he told us, even way back then, my brother, was that Sounds of Blackness, with that name and with that purpose, and I'll talk about that a little bit more in a moment, that we should think of ourselves not as just as a band, but as a cultural institution. And so, we organized as a nonprofit corporation, and we were serious about being a cultural institution. So a lot of people ask about the name Sounds of Blackness, where it came from, what does it mean? And we give our musical credit to Duke Ellington. Now that surprises a lot of people when I say that, because we hear the name Duke Ellington and we think of jazz, as we should.
Right.
But Duke Ellington, too many people don't know that Duke also did the music of the culture. Duke wrote and recorded and performed spirituals, gospel, blues. He did the music of the culture, every sound of blackness. So
this is amazing. For the simple reason, I have when I say just, earlier this year, went to a concert at the Royal Albert Hall, which was basically celebrating Duke Ellington's gospel music.
That's right.
And I had never heard of it until then.
And don't feel bad about that. I mean, it's what's unfortunate is that his sacred works, as he would call them, never got the exposure that his jazz compositions and recordings and performances did. But now they are. So yeah, right. Duke did the music of the culture, every sound of blackness, jazz, blues, gospel, spirituals. He did them all. And so that's the origin and meaning of the name Sounds of Blackness, every sound of the Black experience, from reggae to ragtime to hip hop, soul, spirituals, rock and roll. All of those are under the
all encompassing of everything that is Black musical creation, shall we say?
Yes.
Amazing. So the journey from 71.
Yes.
How did that pan out? How did that roll? That it took you, say, 20 years to really make that name that just blew everybody's mind?
Well, fast forward to 1990, and our dear friends Jimmy Jam and Terry Lewis, and our dear brother, the late Prince, who also had a hand in this.
Okay.
The industry, the music industry, was aware of Sounds of Blackness, and we traveled nationally. We had not traveled internationally yet, but to the level that you're talking about, my friend. Again, our hats off. We pay homage to our dear brothers Jimmy Jam and Terry Lewis, who we have known them since the 70s as well. So we all go way back. Another favorite of the UK, Alexander O'Neill, started with Sounds of Blackness. He was originally a Sounds of Blackness member. A lot of people don't know.
See, this is why it's so important to speak directly to the people, because you get the history, you get the background of what was really happening.
That's really, yep. So the Minneapolis Sound was really a family. We all interacted together. We performed, we recorded, sometimes we rehearsed together, did shows together. Morris Day and the Time, which at the time was known as Flight Ring, Grand Central, Prince. As early as the late 70s, we would do things like the Minneapolis the Black Music Festival here, all sorts of events. So when Jam and Lewis started their record label, we are so still honored to this day, Sounds of Blackness, to be the first artist signed to Perspective Records. And that surprised a lot of people. Everybody thought, okay, they're working with Janet Jackson and Michael and all of these people, they're going to sign them. And they told A&M Records and Polygram, nope, the first artist we're signing is Sounds of Blackness, which surprised everyone. And of course, fast forward a year or two later with Optimistic. And so we reached that level by the grace of God and by the auspices of Jimmy Jam and Terry Lewis.
And you know, the thing is, this is one of those fine inspirational examples of don't give up, keep going. Right. Because, you know, and as we know, some people give up along the way because they just think, well, you know, I've been doing it so long and nothing major is happening. But, you know, right. You guys are living proof that, you know, it's 20 years. And that's what I always say. We only ever see the finished product. We don't see the toil that went before.
Exactly. You know, I talked to our good friend, Alicia Keys. She's another perfect example of what you're talking about, my brother. So a lot of people think that she just emerged onto the scene. So I know she's a long time, an accomplished pianist, as we know, a long time musician and vocalist. And the music that she submitted for her first release, which of course, you know, came years, she had written and recorded some of that music 3, 4, 5 years before the fact. And had been turned down at several labels. So, you know, it's an artist and being true to your craft. And then the rest will happen if you're true to your craft.
And as you say, you know, it's kind of the grace that persevere and the right people will come in your path to do what they need to do for you.
Yep, that's
kind of keep going.
Yes, that's just a God thing. Yeah, absolutely right. And Jimmy Jam and Terry Lewis, something else to their credit, among countless other things, is the first thing they told us when they signed us was the exact opposite of what the music industry usually tells artists that are coming on. Jam and Lewis said, don't change a thing. We want to present you to the world just the way you are. And stereotypically in the music industry, the first thing they want to do when they sign an artist is to change their image and their music and their message. So Jam and Lewis were the exact opposite of that. And
which is kind of contradictory because you think, well, I signed them because of who and how they are. Right. Why do you want to change them? You know?
Right.
Yeah. I mean, so was Ann Nesby always in the band or in the group?
Not always. No, Ann came on. We were blessed with Ann in the late 80s. However, our families, Ann's family, and she would definitely want me to send you her love, by the way. We just
talked. And believe me, I'm going to take it. I'm going to take
it. She would give you a big virtual hug. Believe me, she's so full of love. But our families, let me make a distinction. Our families go back to the late 60s, even through our churches. Okay. But Ann was living in Illinois at the time, you know, a couple of states away from Minnesota. But Ann came to the Sounds of Blackness in the late 80s when she relocated from Rockford, Illinois to Minneapolis, Minnesota, and joined the Sounds of Blackness. Her sister, who is also a great singer, Marie Graham, was already in the Sounds and encouraged Ann to audition. You know, it's so funny. People ask me when they think about Ann and they think about Alexander O'Neill, they say, did they have to audition? And the answer is yes, they did. They'll be the first to tell you. Now, I will be the first to tell you that both of their auditions got cut short because about halfway through, when I heard those voices, it's like, okay, this is a done deal. You know?
The audition really was a formality because it's like once you heard them sing, It was like, you know what? We don't need to go any further. You're in.
Exactly. And another one that is in that category. Some of your listeners and followers may not know the name, but they certainly know the song. Cynthia Johnson, they may not know that name, but if I say Funky Town, they certainly
Oh,
know
yeah.
what that. So she is the voice of Funky Town. Cynthia is also a former Sounds of Blackness member. And
Wow.
believe me, both Alexander O'Neill and Cynthia will be the first to proudly tell you that they are former Sounds of Blackness, because Ann Nesby started this saying, even when Ann went on to her solo career, she said back then, and she still says now, once a sound, always a sound.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So really and truly, the journey changed with your working with Jam and Lewis. That's
it's a paradox, because it did change, and then in many ways it did not change. So who we are did not change. What we did and the scope that we were able to do it on changed. Of course, became consistently national and then international.
I mean, that first album, just as you can see, I'm speechless. And anyone that knows Barry Thomas knows he is never lost for words. But as I sit here thinking about that album, I can feel the goosebumps coming over my body.
Oh,
That's
bless you,
how
brother.
it touched us. That's how that album touched us. I mean, it was just single after single from that album. Testify.
Yes.
You know, the pressure. Just endless.
Oh, bless you. You know, Optimistic was the last song, the final song that we recorded for that first release, which of course was entitled The Evolution of Gospel. Right. And I'll never forget, we had been recording for almost 2 years, at least a year and a half, Evolution of Gospel songs. And I was blessed to be a staff producer for Jam and Lewis at the time at Flight Time Studios here in Minneapolis. And I'll never forget, they called me into their office and they said, Doc, that's their nickname for me. They said, Doc, you know what? We need one more. So we think we got a great project here, but we want to do one more song that will be a classic, that will stand the test of time, and that has universal appeal, you know, to encourage everybody. And the word optimistic keeps coming to mind. Optimist. And that night, the three of us started writing and you know, working the track and all that kind of thing. And I'll never forget, I think a night or two after that is when we called the group back into the studio. And when we recorded Optimistic, there was just a magic about it, Brother Barry, that I can't even explain, that just permeated the whole studio. And people are like, okay, we've been blessed with a lot of great songs, but this one is extra special.
It really is. And I could see as you were explaining that, you were reliving that moment.
Yes.
I could see it came over you. You were reliving that moment. That's how deep that tune is. But there are two versions of it, aren't there? Because there's Optimistic and there's Chains. Chains is the longer version, right?
Well, and let me explain that. So the answer is yes, but just to clarify, Brother Barry, Chains is a neo-spiritual. As you recall, Evolution of Gospel has before a number of the tracks a short version of a spiritual before, like a cappella. The song "Gonna Be Free One Day" comes before one, and even before The Pressure. So the main tracks on Evolution of Gospel are interspersed with snippets, as we call it, of a cappella spirituals. And so Chain is not a cappella. Of course, it's got, you know, the big orchestral accompaniment, but it's so we call it a neo-spiritual, but it really almost a work song, a freedom song. Why were my people brought in chains? So it's really just a prelude. It's not a song unto itself, version of Optimistic. It's a prelude that we placed as a snippet before Optimistic.
Right. Because that again, you can feel it's very spiritual, a very spiritual beginning for it. And then it breaks into Optimistic, the blackness, and it just changes direction completely.
And it's fun to mention that, because a lot of people ask, since we're giving so many secrets on your show here, so that people have never heard before. Many people have asked, who is that voice saying the blackness, keep on? Because at the time, both the late Isaac Hayes and the late great Barry White were also on the A&M label, with Sounds of Blackness. And so people were like, was that Barry White? Was that actually the secret answer to that question is that is Jimmy Jam with a cold. He had a bad cold. And so having that cold lowered his voice some. And so
well, it absolutely works. And he knows it works because, the blackness just, changes direction completely. But that album is amazing. So many singles from that album, just untouchable. But how many of you were in the group at your largest?
At our largest was probably right around that time in the late 80s, early 90s, Brother Barry. And that was, we had 30 vocalists. Now we have 15 singers and we've got a 10-piece band. But back then, during Evolution of Gospel recording, we had 30 singers and still our 10-piece band or orchestra, our complete rhythm section and our horn section. And I mentioned them because of so often, and we understand, but so often the focus is on our singers, but those tracks that you hear, that's not hired help or any machine. That's our band and our horn section, and they are amazing.
Well, I had the privilege and the honor of seeing you in the UK when you came.
Oh,
so I saw it live in real time. And
yes,
we just saw people coming out. We were looking like this. Well, how many more are coming? Because aren't they going to stop? They're running out of space. And we were like that. People were just, it was huge.
Yeah, well, we have a touring ensemble, a grand total of 16 people, 9 singers and 7 musicians. But what you're referring to, in our early days, on a couple of occasions, Jam and Lewis brought the entire group over. So we came over.
Yeah.
I remember we did the Notting Hill Festival. We did the Greenbelt Festival. We did a few big outdoor festivals, I remember, as well, with I think we did Hammersmith Apollo as well, with the entire group. And so that's what you saw when you saw 1 million people come out.
It was Hammersmith.
Yes.
That's where it was. We were like this. Aren't they going to stop? How many more? Are we actually going to get started tonight, or there's just going to be people coming nonstop?
Yep. Brought the whole crew.
Amazing. So that was the first album. And then the album with Soul Holiday.
Yes.
That was the following year.
Yes, it was. That was actually 1992 release called The Night Before Christmas, which is based. That's the concert that we're working on right now.
Right.
With Blackness, in addition to our recordings and our stage performances, we also do musical plays as well, original ones. And The Night Before Christmas is Sounds of Blackness. And again, Jam and Lewis, knowing us since the 70s, were very familiar with our repertoire. And so Evolution of Gospel, even that title, comes from a concert production that we had done for years and that they were familiar with. And then The Night Before Christmas is a stage play based on the poem "'Twas the Night Before Christmas Went All Through the House." But we do a Black musical comedy version of it with lots of original material. And so that's why they said, you know what, we got to do a Christmas album. Doc, let's do The Night Before Christmas. So those songs that you hear on there are from that show.
Right.
Yeah.
Yes. Soul Holiday was a big single here as well.
Yes.
From that album. And then we get Journey of the Drum, which was another phenomenal album.
Oh, thank you so much. Again, only by the grace of God, by the dedication of Sounds of Blackness singers and band, and by the support of people like you and all the listeners. Those are the 3 components. And without any of one of them, it can't happen. So we can make all the music we want, but if people like you don't support and let the people hear it, then it'll be for naught. So we always are thankful.
Yeah. I mean, it's, I think the era of being able to have those albums that you just put on and let play from start to finish have kind of petered out.
Yeah.
You know, those Philly album days. You could just
Yes.
put an album on and let it play from start to finish. And,
That's
you know,
right.
it's kind of petered out, but you guys are kind of some of the last of the legends that kept it going, holding on to that standard and that quality that you put the album on and it's just single after single after single. I mean, I've got them listed here because I can't even remember them offhand. I'm Going All the Way.
Yes. And Anne wrote that, by the way.
She wrote that.
Oh yeah,
Okay.
Anne is a great songwriter,
Okay.
and as well as obviously a fantastic singer, and a pianist as well. So just multi-talented. And
Multi-talented indeed.
and an actress as well. She does. Speaking of plays, Anne does a lot of theatrical plays across the country.
All right.
Yep.
She's got too many talents. She needs to
Yeah, I
leave
know.
me with some. She needs to give some to me. Never mind the love. Tell her to give me some talent. Something.
Yes,
But
sir.
also from that album is I Believe.
Yes. Yes. Just
Another
amazing.
son.
And also from that record is what a lot of people call, and we get this all the time to this day, Brother Barry. A lot of people call Black Butterfly their favorite Sounds of Blackness song, or certainly one of them. So that's
Yeah.
also on the Africa to America recording. Yes.
Yes. And Everything's Gonna Be All Right again.
Yes.
You know, very, very uplifting, emotionally supportive music and lyrics. You know, it's
Well,
very encouraging and supportive and inspirational. So, you know, if you're going through a kind of a downtime and feeling a bit fed up, put on a Sound of Blackness album and you think, well, okay, whatever you're going through now, it'll pass, it will get better, and things will turn. So, you know, the lyrics, always.
yes. Well, Barry, that's very. Thank you for saying that, and it's very deliberate and intentional on our part. We always say at Sounds of Blackness that we bring Black music to people of all backgrounds with messages of inspiration and encouragement. So to hear you say that helps to validate what it is that we're trying to do.
Yeah, absolutely. But then it seemed like Sounds of Blackness went quiet for a while, recording
Well,
wise.
actually, what happened? Right. We did not, but I understand why it seemed that way.
Right,
Because when we Perspective Records left A&M, and so we were no longer major label affiliated, and it
right,
no longer enjoying that level of exposure. But we never stopped doing what we do. We never stopped performing or doing our plays or even
right,
making independent recordings, which of course didn't enjoy the exposure that they did when we were with a major label. So we've never stopped or even slowed down doing what we do by the grace of God, and again by the support of wonderful people like yourself.
right. So you've always
Mhm.
been writing, always been recording. It's never slowed down.
Yeah,
It's just not got the
correct.
exposure that those first albums got.
Absolutely. That's the case. That's a true story.
Yeah. And then it went on to 97 with Hold On.
Yes. Hold on, change is coming. Don't worry about a thing.
That's
And
right.
the groove is based on our late great friend, the late great Roger Troutman,
Okay.
from Roger and Zach. We unfortunately lost him some years ago, but we were
Yeah.
blessed to work with him. And Hold On, Change is Coming is written by Sounds of Blackness assistant director Billy Steele, and a guitar player that we shared with Prince, Levi Caesar. So they co-wrote Hold On, Change is Coming, and based it off of the structural foundation of Roger Troutman's Do Wah Diddy bass line. Do do doom 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 doom.
Yeah.
Everybody knows that's Roger
That's right. Yeah.
Do Wah Diddy. And so for the remix of Hold On, Brother Barry, we called Roger in and asked him to collaborate with us, and he was happy to do that. And so we did a do-wah-diddy remix of Hold On, and we based our Hold On video, on Roger's remix as well. And we did some TV shows with him and traveled with him. We love and appreciate him. We miss him.
Yeah, I'm sure. But you've got a new single out.
Yes, we do.
Sick and tired of being sick and tired.
Yes. Sick and tired, Brother Barry. First of all, especially in light of what you and I were talking about just a second ago, surprised a lot of people because it's not optimistic. It's not everything's going to be all right. It's an expression of anger and outrage. And if I may, I just want to take a minute to explain that to everyone.
Please do.
Yeah. When Brother George Floyd, with the whole world saw him murdered in real time, it was really a modern day lynching, Brother Barry, with that officer's knee on his neck for 8 3/4 minutes, and murdering him in front of everybody. Number one, Brother Barry, that murder happened just 5 blocks from where Sounds of Blackness rehearses. So it was right in the heart of the South Minneapolis Black neighborhood, right? I mean, literally 5 blocks from where we rehearse. And that's part one. Part two is that Brother George's murder and lynching represented something that's been happening to Black folks in America and around the world for 400 years. So as impactful as his murder was, to us, it represented something that has gone on for 4 centuries. And so we had to say something about it. And I'll never forget, he was murdered on a Monday here in Minneapolis. And the first protests happened the next night, Tuesday. There were tens of thousands of people blocks from where we rehearsed. Well, actually, it spilled over that way. There were that many people. And all sorts of people, white, black, brown, red, yellow, men, women, young, old, were out there holding up Black Lives Matter signs. And Brother Barry, something very interesting happened. A teenage young lady who happened to be white came up to me. She recognized me from the group, and she said, "Hi, Mr. Sounds of Blackness." She said, "I really love you guys' group." And she said, "I bet you're going to do a song about this." And the next thing she said was so important, Brother Barry. She said, "Please don't make it a happy song." And I said, "Young lady, I promise you that's not going to happen." Because and the reason she said that was because the anger was palpable, and the mood of everybody, like I say, white, black, men, women, everybody, was righteous indignation, as the Bible says, anger, outrage, call to action. And so this was not the time, because what's happened too many times in the past, Brother Barry, is that when one of us have been murdered or civil rights or human rights violated, the artists get together and put together a beautiful song about everybody holding hands and love each other, which of course we want everybody to do. But then it would go away, and it would be more like an anesthetic but not really address the problem. So this time, the words that the good Lord sent to yours truly's brain were the words of the late great civil rights activist Fannie Lou Hamer, who in 1964 told the world, "I'm sick and tired of being sick and tired." A lot of people use that expression, but they don't know where it comes from. It comes from Fannie Hamer said, "I'm sick and tired," and she was talking about being sick and tired of injustice, and inequality and brutality. And so Sounds of Blackness were led. The good Lord put those words in my head, and we wrote the song "Sick and Tired of Being Sick and Tired," because we had to express that outrage and that call to action.
Absolutely. And I mean, it's draining, it's exhausting having to deal with it all the time, and not necessarily pretend that it's not happening, but you have to find a way of dealing with it that you can carry on. Because if you really let it get on top of you, you would give up. You'd just either you would give up. You'd either kill somebody or kill yourself or whatever. So, it's not that you're pretending it's not happening, but you are finding a way of continuing through it. and hoping that there's
Yeah.
something at the other end. But I'm glad you gave that great explanation, because the first thing I was thinking when I heard the song was, yeah, this is not the usual Sounds of Blackness
Right.
sound or lyrics, more importantly, because as I
Right.
said earlier, it's always about the uplifting, keep your head up to the sky. But this was actually more of a reality check of hard hitting, as opposed to that inspirational thing and flavor of that Sounds of Blackness are known and renowned for.
Yes, absolutely, my brother. And we received and still are receiving dozens of offers to collaborate with other artists on peace and love songs. Now, are we about peace and love? Of course we are. But
Yeah.
even the Bible says there's a time to embrace and a time to refrain from embracing, a time to cast stones, a time to gather stones. So this is a time to finally and fully, rather than just be an anesthetic to people, to really fully address white supremacy and racism and brutality, square on, spot on, as you people say,
Yeah.
straight away, as you all would say, to
Yeah.
really look in the face and really deal with it, rather than just to soothe everybody and calm everybody down.
Yeah. Well, I tell you, it's when you look at what's going on in America, because the brutality with police, etc., goes on in the UK as well. We can't pretend that it doesn't.
Yeah.
But
Yes.
the level of
Right.
in the US is something completely different. It's
Yes.
completely different.
Yes, it is. And over.
Brutal.
Yes, and we get shot and killed no matter what we do or don't do. We hold our hands up, we get shot. We stand there, we get shot. We run away with our back to them, we get shot. We say something, we get shot. We don't say something, we get shot. So, like Brother Michael Eric Dyson says, this is happening not because of what we do, it's happening because of who we are.
Who we are, and you can't help who you are. So if discrimination is against you because of who you are, what are you supposed to do? Where are you supposed to go? You can't escape who you are.
That's right.
If who you are is what is the problem, the minute they see you, you're a target. You haven't got to do anything. And that's, as you say, well, it's not about whether you put your hands up, keep them down, lay on the floor. It's not about any of the action. It's about you and who you are, the essence of who you are. That is the problem. It's
exactly. And
it's quite difficult to have to live with. The level of it in the US, I mean, is something else.
Yes, it is. It is indeed, my brother. And it brings to mind, Brother Barry, the words of the great James Baldwin. And he said, to be Black and even relatively conscious is to be in a state of constant rage.
Yeah.
And that's and that's directly related to our levels of stress and anxiety are directly related to why our instances of heart attack and disease and stress related illnesses are we're always number one. We're always more than everybody else. Well, there's a reason for that.
Because you're living your life like a pressure cooker with that lid on and, constantly. But as you say, we have to be optimistic. We have to go back to the first album in 1991. We have to be optimistic and keep our heads to the sky. We have to. But
yes.
Go on, you were gonna say.
I was gonna say yes. Our music, all the way from our African roots and all the way through the transatlantic slave trade, our music of African people has always been a survival mechanism. It's always been in the vanguard of our movement for equality and humanity, and it always will be, and it is now. So one of the other things Sounds of Blackness has been doing is encouraging other artists, especially younger artists now, to, in addition, you can have your party music and so on and so forth, but always say something about our condition, about the struggle. I mean, because we our artists that we admire always did that. You can go back as far as you want. The late great Billie Holiday, the great jazz singer, she had
Yeah.
"God Bless the Child" and all her other,
Southern
but
Fruit,
the song
Strange
was
Fruit.
"Strange Fruit." That's right. You know, I mean, as far, I mean, of course, James Brown, you know, had "I Feel Good" and "Cold Sweat," but he had "Say It Loud," "I'm Black and
I'm
I'm
black
Proud."
and I'm, yeah.
And the Queen Aretha Franklin, she had Dr. Feel Good and "This Is the House That Jack Built," all those soulful hits, but she also had "To Be Young, Gifted, and Black." So to always be conscious of the struggle and to make a contribution toward that movement.
Yeah. Well, Gary, I am in awe. I'm speaking to the king.
Oh, I am JAB, just another brother.
I like that. JAB, just another brother.
Just
That's
another brother.
great.
That's right.
Thank you so much for talking to us.
No, thank you.
It's been an absolute pleasure.
The feeling's mutual, brother.
And you guys keep rehearsing, because when all of this craziness is over, we need to see you back in London, because it's been a very long time.
It's been way too long. It's been I think just over 2 years now. I'm trying to think of the festival that we played, but even that is too long, because again, the UK is our home away from home, and we cannot wait to get back there. Trust me.
Well, you know that we love you in the UK, and your fans here will be thrilled to see you here talking to us.
Oh, bless you.
And thank you very much. And I want that hug from Anne when I see her. I want all that love that you said she was going to give me. Okay?
Yeah, I guarantee you she will.
Lovely to speak with you. Stay well, stay safe and healthy, and keep doing what you're doing.
Thank you. God bless you from all Sounds of Blackness.
Thank you so much. All the best.
God bless and cheers.